Hello everyone and welcome to Inter&Co Talks. I'm Rafaela Vitória, Inter's Chief Investor Relations Officer, and this videocast is produced by our team in order to bring valuable insights into our business. In this edition, I'm very happy to have Leonardo Paixão, our Treasury Officer, and we'll deep dive into our Treasury strategies and ALM. Leo, thank you very much for coming and welcome.
Thank you, Rafa. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here. It's a pleasure. Thanks for the audience to be listening to us.
Great. Leo, we always like to start our conversations with a little bit of the background of our officers. So tell us, you've been with us for 5 years now, but tell us a little bit about your story before you joined Inter.
Sure. So Rafa, I'm from Belo, the same city that Inter has its headquarters. And I graduated in economics at the Federal University of our state, and I guess it's the same that you did.
Yes.
And
a few years earlier.
And right after I finished my bachelor, I moved to São Paulo to work in Banco ABC Brasil, which is a bank focused on corporate lending, services, and treasury. So I stayed there for pretty much 6 years, working in the treasury as the trainee and then a trader there. So I did a little bit of pricing, liquidity management, and also interest rates management for more than 6 years. And then right after that, I moved to Belo Horizonte again. I was back to BH to work in Inter. Important to say that during that period in São Paulo, I took the CFA, and I was a professor at FK Partners, more specific about fixed income.
That's great. So let's start talking about one of the key competitive advantages at Inter, which is the cost of funding or the low cost of funding today at currently 65% of CDI, and how that has impacted our transfer pricing policy. So since you joined Inter, how do you see the evolution of some of those strategies related to our low cost of funding?
Rafa, this is a very good question, because one of the things that João Vitor, who is our CEO, says is that our low cost of funding is our franchise value. And why that happens? Because when you look at Inter's success, we have a lot of success in digital banking and the transactional business. So nowadays we have around 25 clients, active clients, who use their accounts here in Inter. So these clients, they bring what we call here transactional deposits. So when we look into our balance sheet, we have more than 20 billion of reais on transactional deposits that have a very low cost of funding for Inter. Also, we are very good on using our investment channel, our clients, to bring very cheap money here to fund, especially our real estate assets and loans. So we kind of use our success on the transaction business plus our investment business to bring the cheapest money as possible that we can get.
Yes, and the evolution of our transfer pricing policy since you joined, how do you see that evolving over time?
Yes, this is important to mention that when I arrived here in Inter in 2021, we were living the pandemics, interest rates were really low, 2% in Brazil, 0% in US. And also the government was sending money to families. So at that moment, we had a lot of liquidity inflow in our balance sheet. So at that moment, we started to look at, we have a lot of money, but how we should price this money to the commercial team, to the channel. So we started to look more on a marginal basis, so with opportunity costs, to say, real estate loan, consider our funding structure, for a specific tenor, how much should we take from them? And then we took from payrolls, private payrolls, corporate teams. So the structure of cost of funding has been evolving with Inter, with our funding structure, with the evolution of our products based, and also with the profile of our clients.
And today, how do you look at liquidity and market risk management? Considering that we have a lot of cheap funding, but on the other side, some loans that are priced in fixed, some indexed to CPI, some with longer maturities. How do you see the liquidity and the market risk management?
Yes, here in Inter, we still have the good problem that we have a lot of liquidity. So our liquidity cover ratio, which takes how much money do we need to pay our bills or duties during the next 30 days, we have more than twice this value, this amount. So we still manage a lot of cash here. Important to mention that we also buy short-term assets in Treasury to increase our NII from different institutions, financial institutions. So liquidity management here is pretty much keeping the cost of funding as low as possible. And on the other hand, on the interest rate side, this is also funny because like here in Brazil, we have a traditional that pretty much all of our liabilities are CDI-linked notes, while most of our assets are CPI notes or fixed notes. So we use derivatives from our stock exchange, the B3, to hedge these assets, these originations when the loans are hired.
And how do you see the scenario today? A lot of investors ask us about the trend in the Selic rate, with the Selic rate declining. How do you see that impacting our P&L in general?
Yes, since 2022, 2023 started to hedge all the portfolios, our origination. So like at this moment, Inter has a much lower interest rate sensitivity, but we expect the interest rates to reduce. So we also discussed that with our macroeconomic team, who is Rafaela, our chief economist also. So this scenario of reduction on the interest rates will be slightly positive to Inter over the following months, but on the long term, we are very neutral on interest rate sensitivity.
And another question that we have from investors is about capital allocation. How do you see the strategy of capital allocation at Inter today?
Oh, this is a very good question, because this is also what we call here in Inter, you, Santiago, and João, Inter by design. Like a few years ago, we made a structure in which we not only have the bank, but we also have a holding, we have a marketplace, this kind, all different companies. So nowadays, one of the tasks that we have on Treasury, on the financial side of Inter as a whole, is to move the capital to the most efficient area. So like when we look at the bank, how much capital should we take there, considering the fact that we're still growing our portfolio, considering our tax situation. We also use our holding to keep some of the liquidity there, the capital there in the most efficient way. So like we also have Inter&Co, which is an acquiring company that we bought 1 year and a half ago. So we are using all these companies, all these structures to move capital to the most efficient way.
Now, talking about next steps and new projects, we've been working on the personalized pricing framework. What can you tell us about this project? How does hyper-personalization at Inter is helping pricing products to our clients?
So Rafa, this is one of the projects that I'm most excited on. So the idea here is when you look at the pricing situation of Inter, we used to price considering only a few features of each client. So like pretty much the risk profile, the cost, the tenor of each operation, and the capital. But what we've been seeing and what we're trying to do is to say, okay, we have many data about how our clients behave, or about how they react to us. So how can we use that to engage more our clients, to activate more, to increase our production, and be more capital optimized. So what we've been doing is gathering features of the behavior of clients, such as the cross-sell index, how many times do the clients log into our app, the age, geographic location, this kind of variables, to see, okay, how is this client probably going to behave with us. So, and with that, we're trying to engage more, help the commercial teams to bring more clients, active more. So this is something that we're taking in AI, a little bit data to the edge, to be able to go in deeper, closer to our client. And then with that, have a more engaged bank and an optimal capital structure.
And how is the testing going so far? We are testing this product already or this framework already with certain products. How is it going?
Yes, we started the testing process by the end of last year and the beginning of this year. So the first product that we are working on is the private payroll. So for you to have an idea, we created the models using an AI, and then at this very moment, we have about 15% of our origination is using these AI models with very sophisticated data. And the idea here, Raf, is that we have like two models, the new model, the AI model, the personalized model, we have the traditional model. So like we test that, and then we see, okay, could we be more efficient or not? So like we see many times, yes, we can. We brought more clients, we brought value to Inter. So like we compare these two models and say, okay, let's keep moving on this situation. So like at this moment, we are trying to finish the models to private payroll. And then over the following months, we're gonna see this happening to different products in our base, focused on the retail side of the bank. And Rafa, also important to mention that we're gonna do that also on our liability side. So like, how can we keep working on our cost of funding in a competitive way to our clients and to Inter?
And moving to the global account topic, Inter has an avenue of growth, which is the global account. That means a lot of FX transactions. But there's also some new products in the Treasury related to trade finance. So how is the global account and the global expansion affected the Treasury?
Here what I normally say is that on Treasury we have a few tasks, but one of the tasks to serve the bank, the commercial teams, or what is our plan. So here, over the last 2 years, I guess, like we opened a branch in Cayman to start to sell TDs to our clients, to engage them on investments abroad, and we also launched the global account. So we started to look on the Treasury perspective, how can we serve our clients? How can we get more from them? How can we offer more them? We normally say that Inter is the super app. So like on the Treasury side, we must be able to see if you have clients that want to fund their transactions in dollar, if you have clients who want to go to Shopee and buy something, import something, we must be able to fund them. So on the Treasury side, we're doing that. And for sure, Rafa, we've been very successful on that. And this is one thing that I'm very proud to say is that when you look at Inter, 9% of the FX transactions on Brazil flow from Inter. So every time that we have a transaction registered in the central bank, an inflow or an outflow, there is almost 110% of that transaction comes from Inter.
We are ranked number 2 in number of transactions at Central Bank.
Yes, that's what we are very proud. And if we look at the transactional business that we have, that we spoke a few minutes ago, that I'm saying like the transaction business was a success, so we have a lot of cost of funding, and now we have a lot of clients that want to transact in different accounts, in different currencies. Mm-hmm. Our Treasury and our FX structure to give more products, more solutions to our clients who want to transact with us.
Another project that you were working on is a structured products division. How is that evolving, and what do you see the prospects for this year for that new division?
Yes, since the second half of last year, we started to work on that. And this is something that I really discussed with, especially Santiago, is that, as we mentioned before, Inter has a lot of liquidity, a lot of funding. We also have a really comfortable capital situation. So how can we enhance our profitability, our net income, and our ROE? So we developed a structure desk, which tries to, as we spoke before, move capital from different entities here in Inter&Co. We also looking with the best instruments to make investments, so we can take portfolios from the banking to funds or something like that. And for the last, we are looking for opportunities into the market to say like, okay, this is something that can be profitable to us because there's a good NII, or because there is a capital efficiency from the risk side. So we are looking to use Treasury, use our fund to increase our NII and our profitability.
Going back to the pricing strategy, so you talked about how we evolved in pricing, but today, how is that pricing team interactions with the other parts of Inter? How do you think we contribute to the process of improving pricing overall with the other two teams, the credit teams, the product teams?
Rafa, for sure, the pricing analysis, the pricing area interacts with pretty much everyone. So most of our task here is to gather the information from different sides. So let me give you an example. The most important person in a product is the commercial person. So we have to discuss with them, like they are in the edge, they know the fever of the situation. So we need to discuss with them to understand, like, is there a competitor doing something that we are not? Are they seeing something that we can't? So we interact a lot with the commercial teams. We also go to the credit team to say, like, what are the expected loss on the credit side, because we must consider that on the pricing. We also discuss with the risk team, how is the capital allocation? Is this the best solution that we can have or not? Can we be more efficient or not? We also go to the financial team who says, okay, what are the expenses considering the channel, considering the product? Many times the IR team comes to us with insightful value informations about like what the investors are seeing that we're not, what are the competitors doing. So most of the times here is like to gather everyone here, to listen to everyone, all the moving parts of the discussion, and do some maths to take the optimal price, or the price that we desire.
And keep Inter being very competitive in this market.
Yes, keep competitive. And also, Rafa, something that we are very proud of, it's because over the last 2 years that really enhanced the price of Inter. We saw the NII increasing from a little bit more than 7 to almost 10% over the next 2 years. So this is a common effort of the commercial team, the pricing team, treasury, financial team, so like risk team, everyone working together.
What about AI? A lot of our investors are asking us about AI initiatives, how we are applying them to our many areas at Inter, specifically in the treasury team. How do you see some of the AI initiatives impacting our work here?
So I think AI can be used in like 2 different fronts in treasury. The first one is to help us evaluating the information that we have. So let me give you an example. Like, let me say that Rafa comes to Inter because she wants to buy an apartment. She gets a real estate loan to fund the house that she want to buy. And so like every month she pays an installment, but like, I don't know, in 2 years she receives an inheritance or she receives a good bonus, and she comes here and to prepay this loan that at the beginning was was hired as a 30 years loan, but she priced in 2 years that loan. So we can use AI to analyze more sophisticatedly and also with more data how our customers really behave. Like, so we can manage what we call here the prepayment risk, the liquidity risk, and the market risk. On the other front, which is a little bit about hyper-personalization, we can use AI to test pretty much all the things that we want. So like we could test only, 6 variables, and now we can test around 50 variables. We used to test 10, 12 profiles of clients. Now we can test, 500 profiles of clients. So we can use this AI there's no edge on this situation. And the beauty of these tasks, pretty much that, first, we have to know our limits. So many times you start like focus on something that brings value. So like we can test, but know what you're testing. And the funny thing is, the example that I say is that to see the world in the different lens. This is the funny thing about it, because I think everyone has the incentive, the trend to like see the world. Everyone like who has my age, my profile, my job will behavior like me, everyone thinks like that. But when we start to use AI to analyze data, to analyze the behavior of our clients, we see that things are completely different. And that's the beauty of data and the retail banks such as Inter. We have many different types of clients' behaviors. So like keep using AI to analyze these situations and these profiles.
But also in the market risk side. So you're looking at the client side and pricing, but when you look at the risk management side, there's probably a lot of opportunities to be able to analyze different sources of risk in a more timely manner.
Yes, like when we look at the prepayment risk, we are actually doing that. Like let's see the market risk, the liquidity risk as it is. So let's use data AI to say, okay, I have 90% profitability chances, to say that Rafa will prepay her loan in 2 years. So use that to manage our balance sheet, our liquidity, and our market risk.
As the global business continues to expand, so we started in remittance, partnerships, and now the coming new branch. What do you think are the next milestones for Inter in the FX journey that's been such an important one for us?
Rafa, the FX journey is pretty much what we say here, that is Inter by design. Because like around 10 years ago, 2015, we went to the central bank to get the license to be able to sell foreign currencies to our clients. And like at that moment, the FX was only a cross-sell business that like was no strategical business. And then through time, we saw that everyone has a friend who is a tech guy who works for a foreign company. And there's one thing that's very good to know. I don't know if you know, Raf, but every month the Google comes to Inter to pay its creators. And nowadays we have 5,000 clients who receive money from Google in one single day. So what I'm saying here is that the FX business is managing itself to move with Inter. So like now we have US dollar transactions for people, the clients who want to invest abroad. We have the transactional business on the global account, but we're looking to expand it. We're going to be able to do different type of funding structures. We're going to have different type of products there. So like the FX business is moving with them. And what is important to mention that we have many products to launch on the trade finance business, because we already have different type of clients who want to buy or sell US dollars, or to buy or sell goods from abroad to bring here to Brazil. So like, how can we serve this idea, this business?
Leo, thank you so much. It was a great conversation. Thank you all for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you very much, Rafa. Thank you all for the audience.